Any room for me?
Sure, got a spot right here.
So, you've decided that you want to watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Welcome! You should get a medal or something for getting this deep into the franchise. But I should warn you, this show is not for the faint of heart. You will witness some of the best that Star Wars has to offer, and some of the worst. Some of these episodes have some really well-told stories, and some of them have such potential, but just can't quite reach it. And others have Jar Jar. So, unlike my last video for How to Start Star Wars, this one is going to be a bit different. I'm talking about a TV show as opposed to movies, which means that there is a lot more ground to cover. So, I'll go ahead and start with a brief history of the Clone Wars, and then, if you're interested in sticking around, I'm going to explain what's worth watching, skipping, and what you should only watch if you're curious enough. So, if ye have the courage and willing disposition, let's delve into Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Star Wars: The Clone Wars is an animated kids show that premiered in 2008 and was created by George Lucas and executive producer Dave Filoni. This show premiered with a theatrical feature-length film of the same name, and then began airing on Cartoon Network about 2 months after. You may be wondering how the premise of this show came to be, and believe it or not, it actually came from the very first Star Wars movie in 1977.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
Yes. I was once a Jedi Knight, the same as your father.
I wish I'd known him.
He was the best star pilot in the galaxy. And a cunning warrior. And he was a good friend.
This show takes place between Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, in the Star Wars timeline, to the point that the show literally ends during the events of Episode 3. It's pretty cool, and it gives some additional context for everything going on at the same time. The Clone Wars is what's known as an anthology show, meaning that the order in which the episodes are released does not pertain to their location in the Star Wars timeline. And, oftentimes, episodes are not even connected to each other. This is especially true with the earlier seasons. However, as the show went on, they started to organize their episodes into 3 to 4 episode story arcs. So, if you hear me refer to a list of episodes as an arc, that's why. If you ever get confused with when the episode is taking place, there is usually a rather convenient newsreel-style recap at the beginning of each episode, so don't worry too much about the chronology of the show. Before I get into telling you what to watch, let me just say, I love The Clone Wars. Very much. I watched it as it released, week to week, on Cartoon Network. I had toys. Well, have toys. I even remember recording the episodes every Saturday morning on my DVR. Jesus, I'm old. However, I acknowledge that this show varies greatly in quality. It is a show of high highs and low lows. The show is so variable in quality that, when a friend told me they wanted to get into it, I made a watch list specifically for them. After finishing the show, they found that my watch list was helpful. So, in the interest of being helpful, that's what I'll be going over. Quick disclaimer, if you are someone who considers themselves a dedicated Star Wars fan and just want to experience this show for yourself, then I say go ahead and watch the whole show. But I realize that's not everyone. So, if you want a more detailed watch list, this video will sort Clone Wars episodes into 3 main categories: must-watch, skips, and optional episodes. The optional episodes are only if you're interested in further immersing yourself in the Star Wars universe, or just want to watch more Clone Wars. And for the dedicated Star Wars fans that are watching this to grade my work, so to speak, I'd like to clarify that this watch list is for casual Star Wars fans that are not as deep in the franchise. Well, not yet, anyway. Without further ado, let's begin. Before I start with Season 1, let's talk about the Clone Wars movie. Released in 2008, this movie announced the premiere of the actual TV show, and is the first optional watch on the list. You do not have to watch this movie if you don't want to. It is a rather mediocre movie, and the plot is rather dumb. It involves Anakin Skywalker getting a new apprentice, Ahsoka Tano, that's not the dumb part, and saving Jabba the Hutt's newborn son from the Separatists to gain access to Hutt space. That's the dumb part. This movie also introduces a Hutt who plays an offensive gay stereotype, and while this movie does introduce Ahsoka Tano, who eventually turns out to be a rather important and awesome character, I can't say it's worth watching for that alone. So, optional. Now, Season 1. Overall, Season 1 is okay. As you might expect, the show is trying to find its feet, so the animation can look a little awkward.
If he does, we have to be ready.
And the episodes are clearly targeting a younger audience as a result.
Okay, Clankus.
As for what to watch, the first few episodes are solid and fall into the must-watch category. I'd recommend watching Ambush, the Malevolence arc, and Rookies, but I would recommend skipping episodes 6 through 8. I've never been a fan of the R2-D2 gets kidnapped two-parter, and an entire episode where Jar Jar Binks is mistaken for a Jedi. Also, just a note for the future. If there's an episode with Jar Jar, or you see the words Gungan or Bombad in the title, you should probably skip it. I have all the respect and love in the world for Ahmed Best, but I cannot stand Jar Jar Binks as a character. That being said, Best is great. Best is great? Ahmed is great as Kelleran Beck, but that's another video. Next, we have Cloak of Darkness and Lair of Grievous, which is a solid two-parter. The Dooku Captured and the Gungan General two-parter fall into the optional category. While they do introduce a very charismatic character voiced by Jim Cummings, and there is some fun banter between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Dooku, they do end up having cringy Jar Jar antics, so watch at your own discretion.
Do control your protege's insolence so I can concentrate.
Anakin, what? Control your insolence. The Count is concentrating.
After that, there are a solid run of episodes, with Jedi Crash and Defenders of Peace, as well as Trespass and The Hidden Enemy. I generally recommend skipping the Blue Shadow Virus arc, as I've never really been a fan of those episodes, and you're not missing much if you skip them. To round off Season 1, there is the Ryloth arc, which is the real finale. And then the last episode, Hostage Crisis, which is definitely an optional episode, unless you want to see the offensive gay stereotype Hutt get broken out of prison by a new bounty hunter character. Overall, only 5 skips and 3 optional episodes, which comes out to about 63% of Season 1 as a must-watch, 77% if you count the optional episodes. Just so you know, I'm going to be doing these percentages for every season. I just think it's fun. Now, Season 2. Season 2 is a marginal improvement from Season 1.
Somebody once told me the word.
This season starts with the Holocron Heist arc, which is optional. It doesn't suck, but it is definitely mediocre. If you want to learn more about the character Cad Bane, voiced by Corey Burton, then this is the arc for you. If you do not know or do not want to know who that is, just skip it and move on with your life.
And you will take us now.
As for Senate Spy, I would probably say that it's a skippable episode. It's fine, but as someone who suffers from secondhand cringe, it's hard for me to watch. The next 4 episodes are part of the Geonosis arc. While I recommend watching the first 2 episodes, Landing at Point Rain and Weapons Factory, the next 2 get a little wacky. They have brain slugs.
Today's mission is for you all to go to the Brain Slug planet.
So, if you are looking for a mind control zombie arc, then go for it. If you're only mildly interested in the brain slugs, I would just recommend watching the optional episode, Legacy of Terror. Grievous Intrigue and The Deserter are a great 2-parter must-watch, followed by Lightsaber Lost, which is optional, but it's not bad. I definitely recommend the Death Watch arc. It has some of the most entertaining banter between Obi-Wan and his ex-girlfriend. Yes, you heard me correctly.
This may not be the time to ask, but were you and Satine ever...
I don't see how that has any bearing on the situation at hand.
After that, I recommend skipping Senate Murders, but I definitely recommend watching Cat and Mouse and Bounty Hunters. Now, the next two-parter is literally a kaiju arc, where malnourished Godzilla wrecks Coruscant and finds out Palpatine is evil and tries to kill him. So I generally recommend skipping it. But if you like kaiju, then knock yourself out.
Run! It's Godzilla! It looks like Godzilla, but due to international copyright laws, it's not.
Lastly, to finish the season, we have the optional 3-episode Death Trap arc. Overall, it's okay. It actually explores a little bit of young Boba Fett trying to avenge his father's death from Attack of the Clones. But, like I said, optional. So, the final score for Season 2 of Clone Wars, 9 optional episodes and 4 skips, leaves about 40% of Season 2 as a must-watch. Oof, I thought that was gonna be better. And about 81% if you count the optional episodes. Now, on to Season 3. The quality of the animation has drastically improved in Season 3, which becomes apparent in the Domino Squad arc, which I recommend watching. Interestingly, this arc is where the anthology aspect of this series starts to become more apparent. Remember when I said that anthology episodes don't necessarily get released in chronological order? This is the first example of that. The Domino Squad arc looks like a 2-parter, however, it actually has 3 episodes. Clone Cadets takes place before the Season 1 episode Rookies, and ARC Troopers takes place after. So if the chronology of the episodes are confusing, I figured I'd clarify that bit. After that, go ahead and skip the episode's supply lines. In addition to having Jar Jar, this episode has a confused chronology, like the 2 before it, taking place before the Ryloth arc in Season 1, and features a character whose name is literally I'm Gonna Die. Believe it or not, he does. Sphere of Influence is next, and I tend to think of it as an optional episode, as well as the next 2-parter, Corruption, and The Academy.
The Academy. Anyway.
If you want to watch it, then go ahead. The second episode in this arc actually ends up making Ahsoka a little less annoying as a character, in case you were bothered by that. Assassin is also an optional episode, and has some interesting implications for Episode 3. And again, this episode makes Ahsoka less annoying. But like I said, it's optional. Okay, so this is in the edit, Thomas, right now, and I just wanted to say that I apparently did not mention the episode Evil Plan, Season 3, Episode 8. It's a skip, to be clear, but I'm pretty sure that I blocked it from my memory. So, yeah, don't watch it. It's bad. The gay stereotype HUD is back in Hunt for Zero, so you better believe it's optional. The episode isn't bad, and features Quinlan Voss, for those that care about that sort of thing.
Who?
However, it has some other needless cameos that can make the episode seem cheesy. I couldn't find a name for this next 2-parter, so I've decided to call it the Politics Can Be Slightly Less Boring arc, with Heroes on Both Sides as a must-watch and Pursuit of Peace as an optional episode.
Sweeper droids? We didn't schedule a cleaning.
After this, we have 3 arcs that I recommend watching: the Night Sisters arc, the Mortis arc, and the Citadel arc. I should note that the Night Sisters and Mortis arcs are probably some of the wackier ones in the show. Not the wackiest, we'll get there. So just be aware of that. Nonetheless, I would say that they're a must-watch. Also, Clancy Brown, aka Mr. Krabs, voices a character in the Night Sisters arc that shows up in a later season. Lastly, we have the Padawan Lost 2-parter as optional episodes. Honestly, they're really not that bad, but I wouldn't say that they're necessary. Also, if you've reached this point in the show, you've probably realized that a lot of people die in this show. And you may be wondering how they got this to be considered a kids' show. And honestly, I have no idea. I had to mourn a surprising number of Star Wars characters as a child.
My main goal is to blow up.
Anyway, with 2 skips and 8 optional episodes, that leaves 54% of Season 3 as a must-watch, and 90% if you count optional episodes. And now, a brief little interlude for what I like to call Clone Wars Q&A, where I answer some questions that you probably have while watching Star Wars The Clone Wars. If you've been watching through Season 1 and have watched through the Star Wars movies, you may be wondering, why is Anakin so different in the movies than he is in the show? I mean, Anakin in the Clone Wars seems like a chill-ass dude I'd want to hang out with. Most of the time. Why is he so different? While I don't know for certain, I believe the short answer is overcompensation. When Dave Filoni and his staff got assigned to work on the Clone Wars, I think that they realized they needed to make up for some of the prequel trilogy's shortcomings in character development. In the prequel trilogy, Anakin is the most prominent victim of this unfortunate lack of depth. In the prequels, he can seem whiny, creepy, straight up evil, a child, and quick to turn to the dark side. So, Filoni and his team made it their mission to make Anakin less whiny and creepy. And in my opinion, they succeeded. In the Clone Wars, Anakin has time to be a character. He saves as many people as he can, and, most importantly, he protects the ones he loves. Throughout the show, it is shown that Anakin's fear of losing those he loves is what ultimately drives him towards the dark side. And in this show, we can see that Anakin's fall is more gradual than the sheer cliff face that is Episode 3. However, while I think the Clone Wars makes Anakin a more interesting character, I can't deny that Clone Wars Anakin and prequels Anakin are two completely different people.
You used to be cool, but you've changed, man.
By that I mean, I fear Dave Filoni and co. may have overcorrected his lack of characterization, to the point that Clone Wars Anakin is clearly different from Anakin in the prequels. All that to say, the short answer to the why is Anakin so different question is overcompensation from Dave Filoni and co. Anyway, on to Season 4. First up, we have the Mon Calamari arc, which is optional. It's kind of just okay. It has some Admiral Akbar fan service and shirtless Kit Fisto, but other than that, nothing too crazy. After that, we have Shadow Warrior, which is definitely a skippable episode. It literally has General Grievous getting taken prisoner by Gungans. I wish I was making that up.
How does it feel to die? Not die. Sacrifice!
After that, we have two weird episodes. I really don't know what else to call them.
Madam?
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Mercy Mission and Nomad Droids are definitely skippable. Without hesitation, I say skip them. But now, we get to what many consider to be the best arc in the show, aside from the finale. The Umbara arc. 4 episodes of fantastic storytelling that gets surprisingly dark for a kids show, to the point that it makes me upset that there are other episodes in this show that are not this good. These 4 episodes are a must-watch.
Arc 5555. Stand down.
I'm like, what'd he say fuck me for?
After that, we have the Kadavo arc, which is optional, but interesting. It actually explores Anakin's past as a slave, so I generally don't rewatch it on account of it being a bit of a downer. Like I said, optional. A Friend in Need is a skippable episode. It is weirdly horny at points, with Ahsoka and her, sort of, ex-boyfriend, and even features a moment where Bo-Katan slaps Ahsoka's ass.
She?
Yeah. Skip. How did we get here? How did this season get here? We had the Umbara arc, and now we have this. After that train wreck, we have an arc that I definitely recommend. The Deception arc. In this arc, we get some really interesting buildup of Anakin's mistrust of the Jedi Council, and a fascinating premise that I will leave for you to discover. Next, we have a 2-parter, Massacre, which is definitely a must-watch, and Bounty, which is optional, but honestly, quite solid.
Double kill, triple kill, over a kill.
Lastly, we end the season with the first 2 episodes of one of the coolest character revivals I've ever seen. The Maul's Return arc. Definitely a must-watch.
Slaughter of the innocent, mercilessly and without compromise.
Which brings Season 4 to a total of 4 skips and 7 optionals, meaning 50% of Season 4 is a must-watch. Considering it has one of the best arcs in the show, that percentage is surprisingly low. Bars. If you count optional episodes, you'll end up watching 81% of Season 4. And now, back to Clone Wars Q&A, with the questions that I think you'll ask. One thing you're going to notice, starting in Season 5, is that Palpatine, aka the Emperor, may sound different.
Maul was trying to build an army of pirates.
So let him. Let him play with the rabble.
They're just petty crooks.
So, you may be wondering, why does Emperor Palpatine sound like a different person? And the answer to that, my dear viewer, is that he is.
Go for Papa Palpatine!
The original voice actor for Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars The Clone Wars was famed character actor Ian Abercrombie. Unfortunately, he died in 2012 after recording most of his lines for Season 5. With some of those episodes unfinished, Dave Filoni brought in Tim Curry to record the rest of the lines. Yes, that Tim Curry.
Space!
So, for most of Season 6 and a little bit of Season 5, Tim Curry voices Palpatine instead of Ian Abercrombie. And this source is unverified, but I'm pretty sure that Ian and Tim were good friends, so that's part of why he took the role. I think I heard this on one of James Arnold Taylor's Clone Wars Conversations episodes. You can go corroborate that information if you like, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Do you ever have one of those moments where you think, how the hell did I get here?
So anyway, the reason that Palpatine sounds so different at times is because there are 2 actors that voice him throughout the show. Okay, Season 5. Season 5 consists of nothing but episode arcs, and many of them are really good. Starting with the last episode of the Maul's Return arc, Revival. Definitely a must-watch. Much like the next arc, the Onderon arc. This arc introduces some, now, recurring characters in the franchise.
You think I'm crazy? Yes, I am. Revolution is not for the same.
And is about how the Republic funds and trains a group of counterinsurgents that they will end up having to deal with later as the Galactic Empire. This has no allegory in real life, I'm sure.
What is that? It looks like an explosive. How can you tell?
Next, we have the Younglings arc, which is optional. It's not bad, but it isn't remarkable. What is bad is the next arc, the D Squad. I am not making that name up, it is known as the D Squad arc. It is surprisingly bad for existing this late in the show. Unless you really want to suffer through 4 episodes to see some animated clone commando armor, do not watch it. Don't do that to yourself, it's not worth it. After that, we have 2 fantastic episode arcs. We have the Maul's Empire arc with a ridiculously cool cast, including Clancy Brown, Jon Favreau, Katie Sackhoff, and, a personal favorite, Sam Witwer. This arc is definitely a must-watch. After that, we have the Wrong Jedi arc, which ends with one of the saddest endings I had seen at that point in my childhood. Which brings Season 5 to 4 skips and 4 optionals, making 60% of Season 5 a must-watch, and 80% if you count the optionals. Honestly though, I think this is probably my favorite season to rewatch. It has so many good Star Wars stories, and ends in a truly heartfelt and heart-wrenching way. And then it was canceled! That's right, before we get into Season 6, I want you to understand my pain, my trauma, my Joker moment, if you will. After the season 5 finale, Disney bought Star Wars from George Lucas and suspended all in-progress Star Wars projects, meaning Clone Wars was canceled, just like that. I was upset, to say the least, inconsolable, to say the most. This show that I had spent my childhood adoring was no longer going to get the chance to end properly, of its own accord. Fortunately for me, Lucasfilm was allowed to release a few episodes that were planned for Season 6 of Clone Wars. So, if the season ends awkwardly, it's because that is all that they were able to release in the time that Disney gave them. If I had to guess, Disney wanted the animation department to wrap up Clone Wars quickly so that they could start working on a Disney animated show, which would eventually become Star Wars Rebels, but that's a different video. Back to the watch list. Like I said before, this season is sort of half complete. Lucasfilm only released the episodes that were close to being done, so this season only has 13 episodes total. With that being said, I definitely recommend watching the first arc, the Orders arc. These 4 episodes contain some interesting implications for Order 66, and make the Jedi look really stupid, almost deserving to die to something that, if they took 5 minutes to think about it, could be uncovered relatively quickly. Nonetheless, these 4 episodes are definitely a must-watch. Next, we have the Rise of Clovis arc that is definitely optional. Aside from Anakin beating up an unarmed man for touching his wife, and Padme committing white-collar crime,
Was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not.
there isn't much noteworthy in this arc other than establishing a timeline for Padme's eventual pregnancy. Or at least that's just a theory. A game theory! After that, we have The Disappeared Parts 1 and 2, that show 1, Jar Jar's got that dog in him, and 2, that Mace Windu is a badass, but we already knew that, so I recommend skipping these. While the clown and straight man routine that Jar Jar and Mace Windu have can be entertaining, I don't think it merits forcing you to watch this. Next up, we have a must-watch episode, The Lost Ones, which is a pretty cool detective story with Anakin and Obi-Wan. And lastly, we have the last arc of the show until the year of our Lord 2020, the Voices arc. If you thought Mortis was wacky, this is another level. In my opinion, it is a little too wacky for me to enjoy. But if you are curious, I recommend watching the first episode, Voices, because it essentially consists of the Jedi Council thinking that Yoda has dementia or has been corrupted by the dark side, because those are the same in the Star Wars universe, apparently.
If the Sith Lord wanted to attack the Jedi Order from within, Master Yoda would be the perfect choice.
Didn't know my grandmother fell to the dark side. With that said, that leaves Season 6 of Clone Wars with 2 skips and 6 optional episodes, meaning that 38% of Season 6 is a must-watch. Damn, that is lower than I thought it would be. With the optional episodes, that is 84% of the season. Now, we get into an interesting story of how Season 7 came to be. After Season 6 was released on Netflix in 2014, there was no news about, or an expectation of, a Season 7 of Clone Wars. Essentially, most Star Wars fans, including myself, thought that the show was done, and that there would be no truly satisfying ending for the show. While there was eventually some Clone Wars fan service in shows like Star Wars Rebels, and a few petitions to give us a Clone Wars Season 7, neither of these were able to deliver the satisfying ending that Clone Wars was robbed of. And so, any hope for Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7 faded. Until July 19th, 2018, when Lucasfilm dropped a trailer. and hope was restored. Clone Wars was getting a Season 7. Words cannot express how hyped I was. I truly don't think I had been that excited for a TV show in a long time. So, with that context in mind, and the dramatic monologue over, back to the watch list. The first arc in Season 7, the Bad Batch arc, is pretty good. I mean, it was good enough to spawn its own show, and overall, it was pretty enjoyable. Quick aside, I will talk about the Bad Batch show, but I'm not going to do it in this video because this one's getting longer than I expected. There honestly isn't much else to say here. It's just a solid episode arc with a cool introduction to a future Star Wars show. As for the Martez sisters arc, there are definitely things that could have been done better.
Brother,
Honestly, I was quite disappointed with this arc when it came out, and frankly, I still am. This arc could have been 1 episode, and yet it stretches out to 4. But on the bright side, we get more Hispanic representation in the show, and so they make these Hispanic characters drug mules. Okay. Unfortunately, unlike past seasons, this arc is somewhat narratively connected to how the finale comes about. However, I'll still say that these episodes are optional, because frankly, they don't deserve to be more than that. And you aren't missing a ton of key plot points, other than the fact that Ahsoka meets up with Bo-Katan and they're working together. If you want to know more, just read the synopsis on Wikipedia or something. Now, the series finale, the end of all things. I don't think I need to say that this is a must-watch, but to say that this finale is done masterfully is, in my opinion, putting it mildly. It is beautifully animated. The cinematography is stunning, and the soundtrack is fantastic. Kevin Kiner does not get enough credit for this arc. Frankly, he doesn't get enough credit, period. Kevin Kiner is responsible for the soundtrack for the entirety of the Clone Wars show, and it honestly sounds great. Overall, with 4 optional episodes, that leaves Season 7 of Clone Wars with 66% of it being a must-watch, and 100% if you include optional episodes. Out of all 133 episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars, I recommend watching 71 of them, which brings the final tally to about 53% of the show being a must-watch. Basically, if you flip a coin, you'll find out whether or not to watch that episode. If you include optional episodes, that brings the total up to 112 episodes out of 133, and brings the percentage up to 84% of the show. Well, that's how to start Star Wars The Clone Wars. You're welcome to wander from the watch list, and hell, you're welcome to disagree. This video is all my opinion after all. One of them actually puts all of the anthology episodes in chronological order in the Star Wars timeline. So if you're interested in that watch list, definitely go for it. I'll put a link in the description. If you want to go ahead and watch the episodes that I didn't recommend, please let me know what you think about them. I always love hearing different opinions, especially about Star Wars. If you're new to Star Wars The Clone Wars, please let me know if this video was helpful. I'm especially curious to see the thoughts of new fans to the franchise. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be... Oh, you're still here. You've watched the video this far. Well, if you were looking around for extra Star Wars content, I have just one question for you. What about the other Clone Wars? That's right. In 2003, right after Episode 2 Attack of the Clones released, Lucasfilm commissioned the famous animator Genndy Tartakovsky, known for Samurai Jack, to make a Star Wars Clone Wars micro-series. Not Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars Clone Wars. The episodes in this micro-series were 3 to 5 minutes long and released week to week. And when I say that this show is incredible all around, I mean it. While this show is not canon anymore, it is incredibly well animated, and has a version of General Grievous that is legitimately terrifying. Like, horror movie terrifying.
Legalize nuclear bombs.
This show also has most of the same voice actors from the 2008 Clone Wars. Or I suppose I should say that the other way around. James Arnold Taylor voices Obi-Wan Kenobi, Corey Burton voices Dooku, Tom Kane voices Yoda, T.C. Carson voices Mace Windu, but even beyond that, there is a surprisingly stacked cast of veteran voice actors in this show.
Indeed.
Also, Ki-Adi-Mundi isn't an asshole in this Clone Wars. He's kind of a badass. Speaking of, if you thought Mace Windu was a badass in the 2008 Clone Wars, boy, you have not seen him in this show. Like, beats an army of droids without a lightsaber, and then, even when he has it back, he chooses to destroy droids without the lightsaber because he feels like it.
We are being overrun. Repeat, we are...
In terms of flow, you may find that this show changes vignettes very quickly. And that is probably because these micro-series episodes were 5 minutes long each when they aired on Cartoon Network. And they've all been consolidated into one 1-hour-long movie. I've never found it to be a problem, but if you do, that may be why. So, while your brain may melt at the thought of 2 versions of the Clone Wars running through your head, I definitely recommend the micro-series. For me, I think it's fascinating to see what the original plan for the Clone Wars was before 2008. The micro-series is especially good if you've just finished the 2008 Clone Wars and are trying to fill the empty hole of Star Wars that it leaves. It's only 2.5 hours of content, but it is incredibly worthwhile.
What's wrong with your face?
Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. And if you liked this video, you know what the general call to action is. And now, for real this time, may the Force be with you, always.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.